Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening for those of you joining us from overseas. Thank you all for joining us today for this brown bag presentation for our next patch release. I'm excited today to share some of the upcoming changes to RMS. And as such, if I start talking too fast, please click that turtle icon to ask me to slow down. Or likewise, if I'm going too slow, please click on the bunny icon to ask me to speed up. So these new changes that I'll be telling you about today will be released into production on or around the 27th. So be on the lookout for that update. If at any point during this presentation you have any questions regarding the slides or anything that I'm covering, please feel free to add those questions to the Q&A section of this WebEx meeting. We do have some RMS Staff Center on standby to answer those questions while I'm presenting. You will also be able to ask questions at the end of this presentation. So let's get started. All right. Here is the list of all of the areas of our topics that are covered today. And as you can see, it spans a couple of different areas within RMS. And up first, we have on the map view a new link that has been added. And this link will send users to our website where y'all can check for the latest information on upcoming trainings, plan outages, recently posted videos, and more. So let's see what that looks like. That is this one here. And as you can see, here I am at the map, and down at the bottom, here's this for latest RMS news. Click here, and that is going to open you up to another web page. Let me bring it on our screen. Make it bigger. Let's see here. Let's go ahead and mute you guys. As you can see here, we've got planned outages, upcoming events, releases, some helpful links off to the side, and some more information about the videos that we have released. If you need to, you've got downloads you can get to if you need support. Also, any documentation that you need, help files can be found here, and release notes can be found here. Next up, we've added a new ability to RMS for any user with full district admin rights. This ability will allow district admins to send all documents to PCF with the click of a button. See, this new feature was added to help out district admins that were closing out contracts that had multiple files that were not properly sent to PCF. So this can happen when a stand-in user is working on a contract for part of the time and doesn't normally work with items that require the Accept Document Package button to be clicked in order to finish the process to send the documents to PCF. So what happens then is those documents remain in limbo where they haven't been sent to PCF, though they've already been reviewed. And eventually, at some point in time, someone's going to have to come behind them later and accept those documents to get them sent to PCF. As you can imagine, this has probably caused you or someone you know a whole lot of work, because now when you're closing out a contract, you might have hundreds of documents that are sitting there not sent to PCF, and they need to be sent to PCF before you can fully close them out. So since that's not very efficient, we've made this better. Now, as you can see here, we've got a new button in Contract File where you can send all of the documents to PCF in one shot. And I'll demonstrate that here in a minute, but first, this is a two-part edition. Our second part is in the district office. So now we also have this option inside of the district office. So remember, that same stand-in person was working on one contract, but what happens if they're working on 10? So now this person has 10 different contracts that they have to go in and find all of the different documents that need to go to PCF. So even though that button that we added in Contract File is really nice, when you have 10 contracts, that's not going to be as nice, because now you have to go into 10 different contracts to click the button. It's faster, yes, but it's not as fast as it could be. So, as such, we have added this ability to do the same process here in the district office Send Documents to PCF module. So again, this is only for district administrators. And as you can see down here, You can find all of the contracts in your district listed by office, contract number, contract ID, the title, the stage, and most importantly, how many documents have not been sent to PCF. So in order to get this to work, all you have to do is select your documents by clicking on these little checkboxes here for each of the ones that you want to send, and then click this button, Send to PCF. And as always, you can always use this search box up at the top to help you narrow down your results. Now, here's a little background information on our Send to PCF process, just in case you didn't know or you need a reminder. So this is really important to understand when using either one of these two buttons. The PCF process is a nightly event, and during this event, RMS will cycle through each district and send only 100 documents from that district to PCF before moving on to the next district. This number of documents is limited due to the connection between RMS and PCF, so we can only send 100 at a time without overloading the system. So, if there's more than 100 documents in the nightly queue, this is why we say it takes anywhere from 24 to 72 hours for those documents to show up in PCF. Since the limit is 100 documents, there are two drawbacks to using these Send Documents to PCF button. The first issue with this particular thing is if you have a lot of documents. So in this case, you see down here in our example, this one's missing 4, this one's missing 30, this one's missing 3. That's not bad. That's okay. But what happens if you come across a contract that's missing 60 or 10, but you have 10 contracts that are missing 10? That means if you're going through and doing all 10 of those contracts and they have 10 documents each, there's your 100 document limit right there. So this is why it's limited to only district admins, so that way they can keep tabs on how many are being sent at a time. So that way it's not overloading the system. If you do send 100 in one shot, just know that it is going to increase the time that it's going to take for documents to get from your district to PCF. Because remember, only 100 are allowed. So with all that being said, let's go see what this looks like. This one right here. So the first one that we're going to look at here is the one in the district office. So logged into your district, you're going to click on district office. And then from here, you're going to click on Send Documents to PCF. And once it opens, one thing to keep in mind when this opens, this particular module goes through every single document inside of your district for every single contract. So it's going to go through a lot of things. So if your internet connection is not very stable, know that it might take a little bit of time for this to go through. Also, the same thing if your internet connection is very slow. It's going to take a few minutes for this process to open up. So keep that in mind. Now over here, as we can see, we've got all of these different contracts that are going through. Now, remember I said there's two drawbacks to this system. That other drawback was the fact that if you don't know that let's say, we'll go with this document. This is an active contract. It has 26 documents that need to be sent to PCF. Unless you're actively working in that contract and know for a fact that those 26 documents are done and ready to go to PCF, you probably don't want to check this box unless the contract is complete. In which case, we can use our little filter icons here and specifically find the ones that are either fiscal or physically complete. And then we can go through and select all of these that we want. So let's say I want this one and this one and this one, and I also want to send this one. I've selected the ones that I want. I've limited it to only the ones that are in closeout. And now I'm going to click on this lovely little button of Send Selected Documents to PCF. Now this is going to take just a few moments. And it's done. And it tells us that it sent 6 documents, and now they are marked as ready to send. Because remember, not instantaneous, it goes through at night. Go ahead and click OK. And the next thing we're going to look at is we're going to look at this in contract file. So I'm going to click on contract selection, and I'm going to go into my training contract. One other thing to keep in mind, go into administration and contract file. So one other thing to keep in mind when you're sending all of these documents to PCF as well is the priority. So what will happen is RMS will sit there and look at, okay, are these contractor or are they government documents? It's going to send all of the government documents before it sends the contractor documents when it sends to PCF. Of the government documents, it's going to send the ones that were marked as ready to send at the oldest. So the oldest, the ones that were marked as ready to send, have an older date, will get sent first. And again, that will go with the government first. So once all of the government documents have been sent, if there is still less than 100, it'll go check for the ones that are contractor. So that's another thing that you have to keep in mind. Now, again, in this particular case, when you're in contract file, how do you know that the document has actually been sent to PCF? Well, you come over here, you click on this filter, and you can see the ones that are in there based off of their PCF status. So these ones right here, document ready to send, this is our test contract. So we don't have any accepted because this is my newly created one and I haven't actually put them in PCF. I've only marked them as ready to send. But I do have a few in here that are not ready to send. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this. And then I'm going to expand it all to see all of the documents that I have that are not ready to send. And so I have some exposure hours, I have some QE dailies, and a deficiency. Now, I'm pretty sure all of these are ready to go because I'm the one that put them in there, so I can definitely, with confidence, click on that button and say, okay, let's send these to PCF. I'm going to do that now. And it's going to say, are you sure this is 4 documents and you want to proceed? In this case, yes, I do. So I'm going to go ahead and click yes. And it's going to go through the same process, and then it's going to send to PCF. Once that's done, you can navigate and do whatever else you need to do. Next up, we have our first update to the import-export modules area. As so many users have wanted or needed to have the ability to download documents from different document package options other than what were previously provided, we have added a few new options in the Import-Export tab, Document Package Module. As you can see here, we have added quite a few new things to the government side. Although contractors don't have quite as much new stuff, they still have some new additions that are added to this module. Now, to download documents from anywhere, you're going to navigate to the Import-Export tab, and then you'll click on the Document Package Export. Once you're in here, you're going to select all of the options that you want to send, and then click on Get Documents. Now, keep in mind that when you use this option, this information is dependent upon your network connection because it's downloading from our servers to your computer. So if your network connection is slow or if it's unstable, then you're going to either take a really long time to get all of your documents to download if you select all the documents, or it's going to just take a really long time. So it's going to take a long time. It might miss one because your network connection dropped. So keep in mind, you want a stable network and you don't want to be on a very, very slow network when you download these documents. Another thing to keep in mind with this is the number of documents you have in your contract. If you must download all of the documents down here at the bottom, we do have this all document package checkbox, which you can check, and it will get every single document. Anything that is found in the contract file module using that checkbox will be downloaded to your computer. Again, your internet connection is key. You will need to leave RMS up and running and connected to the network until this process is done in order to successfully get every single document. So keep that in mind. So this is both in contractor mode and government mode. So here is government mode, and then I'll show you contractor mode in just a second. We're going to click on Import Export, and then we're going to come down to the Document Package Export module. Inside the Document Package Export module, as you see, these we've already had. You've seen these before. This is nothing new. But scroll down using the scroll bar off to the side, And now you can see all of the new stuff that we've added. The RFIs, the correspondence, progress payments, modifications, and wow, contract change requests. Yay! Now these new ones, we've added the option to check everything or to uncheck everything, or you can single select as you want. And if you want, of course, you can do all documents. Now, for our presentation, because I don't want this to take too terribly long, I'm only going to use the QA daily reports. No, I'm going to do QC because I know my QC doesn't have that much in it. And then I'm going to click on Get Documents. It's going to ask me, where do you want to save this? So I'm going to go ahead and just stick it on my desktop. And I'm going to pop it in here and say, OK. And then it's going to export. Once it's done, it's going to pop up and it says, if your request contained any documents, they have been exported here. Click OK. And then you can back off and do anything else that you want to do because it is downloading in the background. What you'll do is just periodically check your file to see if all of the files are there. You're good to go on that one. Now let's take a look at contractor mode. Anytime you want to know which patch you're in, always just take a look up here at the top. It'll tell you exactly which patch you're in, so that way you always know you're in the most current. All right, again, we're going to go over to Import Export. And then we're going to click on Document Package Export. And let's make this bigger. There we go. And this is, again, going to be the same. The daily reports, transmittal logs, QC requirements. This was the same as before, but again, using the scroll bar, now we have the RFIs, the correspondence, the progress payments, and all documents. And it's the same process. They check the boxes that they want, and they click on Get Documents. And then once it's done downloading, they're good to go. Moving on. Another update to the import-export area of RMS. For this one, we've disabled the ability for deletion of SDEF files if the contractor has requested acceptance for import. Now, some of you might be thinking, wait a minute, didn't you already do this? Well, kind of. What we had in the past was if it was accepted and if it was imported, it could not be deleted. So if you guys accepted it from the contractor, they couldn't delete it. If they imported it, of course, they couldn't delete it. But now, if they ask for it to be accepted, they also can't delete it. This is actually good to help maintain accurate records for the contracts for later periods down the road if you need to have litigation or whatever. You can show, well, they asked for this one. And then if they say that that one wasn't wrong, you have to come up with, they have to prove the reasons why you don't want it, that kind of thing. That's the stuff that needs to happen. And here's a nice new addition that we've added to the NAS SDEF module. Some of you may be aware that we have a report in the contract reports module that compares two SDEF files for a quick way to see what overall changes were made with that SDEF file prior to importing. But since that's in a different tab and module, it can be a little tedious to do during your review of the newest SDEF files. So now you can do this directly in the Import-Export tab's NAS SDEF module itself. And it's available to both the contractors and y'all, the government. To use this feature, you simply navigate to the NAS SDEF module and click on the Compare Schedules button. Nope, it only works with two SDEF files. You can't choose one or three. It doesn't work that way. You can only compare two. And after clicking this button, you'll see the two files you wish to compare, and then click OK to display the comparison. So let's go ahead and see what that looks like. I'm going to do this in government mode. I'm already on the import-export, and I'm going to come down here to the NAS SDEF module. And up here is my new button for Compare Schedules. And I'm going to go ahead and click on Compare Schedules. As you see, this brings up the list of all of the schedules that have been uploaded to RMS for looking. The top one is always going to be the current data that is currently inside of RMS. Usually, you're going to want to compare the newest SDEF to this current data in order to be able to see it. Now, if you accidentally check that and realize, oh, no, I don't want to use that one, but don't uncheck it and check a third one, you'll get a nice, lovely little message letting you know you can only do two schedules. Click OK, it will unselect all of them. Now for this comparison, I'm only going to choose these two right here as they're the most closely related. And I'm going to click OK. And now this is what you can see. Now this is the first page of that report that I was telling you about before. It shows you the construction start information, the construction finish information, activity progress, and critical activities. In each of those sections, it has a list of the things that it is comparing, and it tells you which SDEF file it is comparing to up at the top. And then you've got your dates down here. You can go through and look at all those things. Now, say you want a better, more detailed report than what's showing right here. Well, that's okay. We've given you this preview the full report button, which will take you to the actual report based off of the selections that you've already chose. So give it just a few minutes and see. Now, look, we've got 31 pages. So the nice thing about this, let me bring this down here to make it bigger. We'll zoom in. The nice thing about having this report very clearly marked is you can sit there and scroll through, and let's go to the end. This tells you the relationships that were added. So this gives you more specific information than what that little screen gave us before. And if you go to a specific page, you've got all the changes to the late start dates. So this is the new start date. Those are the previous start dates. And you can see that there is a difference, and it does give you the differences. So this will help you when you're comparing SDEF files to ensure that the newest SDEF file is actually what you want it to be. Moving on to the QA/QC section of RMS. Here we have another new feature within the QC Daily Reports module. When you open the QC Daily Report module, you will now see a new start tile up at the top, which will show you all the daily reports that have been accepted and then sent to PCF. Now, this is only available in the QC Daily Reports at this time. As with all sort tiles, it will also give you a count of the number of documents that are in this state. And this little addition will allow users to more easily determine if they still need to do any actions in the daily reports, like click the accept button. Because if you have 1,054 reports that are completed, but only 11 of them have been accepted and transferred to PCF, you might want to go take a look and see why the other ones are not being sent. So keep that in mind. And here we've corrected an issue with the QA concurring with the deficiencies before the contractor has marked that item as corrected. Now, this issue here was when a QA rep would mark it as concurred before the contractor would actually mark it as complete. And when this happens, the date for it to be completed would be blank. And since there are times that the QA wants to mark something as done before the QC does, this fix allows them to do this and add the date corrected with the same date as the daily report it was marked concurred in. So this way you don't have any random data just kind of sitting around. So let's go see what this looks like. I'm going to go create a deficiency in the current patch. I believe that's this one. Yes. This is the current patch contractor mode. I'm going to go into the QC daily reports. And I'm going to go into, let's just do this one, February 10th, 2021. And in here, I'm going to go into the QA/QC deficiencies, and I'm going to add a new deficiency. With this deficiency, I'm just going to add some, let's see, oh, it's not going to do that. It's going to copy and paste, but it's not going to, so I'm going to slow type it in there. Deficiency correction test. Let's hope I spelled that right. I think so. It's good enough. I'm going to copy that. Whoops. There we go. And then I'm going to click the back button to save that deficiency in there. And now I'm going to add one more because I need to show you two options in this particular case. This one's going to be corrected in 419. And now we have two new deficiencies. They have not been marked corrected. I'm going to go ahead and back out of this QC daily. And then I'm going to go over to government mode, current patch. Let's see here. That I believe is this one. Yep, here's correct. We are in the same contract. So I'm going to go into QA/QC. And then I'm going to go into the QA daily reports. And then I'm going to find at least this one, which is the same date as the QA daily that was we created the deficiency in, and I'm going to click on the deficiencies. Now, by default, when you come into this view, you will see it defaults to the QC, QA deficiencies that are corrected. So in this case, that's these ones right here. Right now, I don't have any that are verified and corrected in any place at all. So what I want to do is I want to come over here to not corrected. Because again, there are times that the QA does actually want to mark something as completed before the contractor marks it complete. So as you know, it's done, it's finished, you know that. So what I'm going to do here, remember, this is current patch, I'm going to mark this one as concurred. As soon as I do that, it's going to ask me for some comments, and I'll put in whatever comments are required by my district and office, and it will move that over to the verified option. Now, when you click on the verified option, there's no date corrected here. That is the problem that we were having with having this marked as concurred before the QC went in and marked it as corrected. But now, backing out of here, we're going to go over to the new version of RMS. We're going to go to the QA, QC, QA daily reports. And again, this is my new version. I'm going to go into the same daily report, open up the deficiencies again. And again, I have to click on issued, not created, and not corrected, in order to view things that haven't been corrected yet. And here's the other deficiency that I added. So I'm going to check this box to concur. It's going to ask me for some comments again. Now, because the contractor hasn't marked it as corrected yet, you get to put in what the corrective action was. So that way it is correctly documented. So we put in that information, we click OK, and it moves over to verified. And it now has the date for this daily reports date, which is February 10th of 2021. We're working in the past right now. And that's been corrected, as you can see here. So we're going to back out of that. And next up, we have a new update to RMS. So in the past, when a contractor added a QC mishap, the government could not see that mishap in their QA daily report. You could only see that information in the corresponding QC daily report by opening the report itself or waiting until the exposure hours were finished the following month. And sadly, the only way that you could see any documents the contractor added to the mishap was if you access that in the contract file module itself. So if you don't have permissions to do that, that's a little bit of a problem. And it's not the best way to go about doing that anyways. So we fix this. Now when a contractor adds a mishap in the QC daily report, the government can view that mishap in the corresponding QA daily report mishap submodule, and it'll look exactly like a QC mishap. So let's go see what that looks like. So we're going to run over to contractor mode, and I need the new one. This is our new version of contractor mode. I'm going to go over to the QC, and I'm going to open up a daily report. In this daily report, I'm going to specifically specify things that have not been completed so I can ensure I can edit it. And I'm going to open up the same daily report we were working on before. And down here at the bottom, I've got some mishap reporting. And I already actually did add one in here, but just so that way you can see, I'm going to add another one. New mishap. And in this case, I'm going to change this just a little bit because there are some differences between personal injury and non-personal injury. So we're going to be able to look at both of these. And of course, if there's a document package, you can always add documents to this document package. Well, they can by clicking add and then add from file system. I'm not going to add anything right now, but what I am going to do is go ahead and back out of that to save all of the information that I just did and then run over to government mode. Let's see here. Is this the right one? Nope, that's the current patch. I need the new patch. There we go. Now, in the new patch, we're going to go into our same QA daily report. And then we're going to scroll down to our mishap reporting. And as you can see, there are now 2 QC mishaps that are showing up in here. The one that I originally had before, I've already accepted. and the new one that I just created. So let's take a look at that first one by double clicking on it. I can see all of the information as the contractor entered it, as well as any documents in the document package that they entered in there. And for the other one, just to show you what that looks like, again, you'll see it exactly as they see it, and this is the information. For comparison, let's take a look at a QA mishap. This is what a QA mishap looks like. So it's pretty much the same thing that the contractors will see. You get the same stuff. But if I just happen to change this to personal, same thing. So it all looks the same. But now it's more convenient and more easier. It's easier for y'all to take a look at some of this stuff and make those comparisons instead of having to run all the way to the contract file to see the document, or to come over here and click on the QC daily report to see it there. So hopefully this will make your life a little bit easier and your job a little faster. This update applies to dredging contracts only. So when a contractor or government enters a dredging daily report, they now have the option to copy previous weather into the current dredge report. Now, the reason for this is, from my understanding, with dredge reports, literally day after day, it tends to be the same bit of information over and over and over again. It doesn't change. So the ability for them to have this copy option is very important because it can get very tedious, whether it's the government or the contractor, because both enter the dredge reports, are doing this. It's still kind of time consuming if you can't copy those things. So let's go see this one. All right, so in government mode, I'm going to go ahead and back out of this daily report and run over to the QC daily reports. Now, I want to make sure that I'm looking at dredge reports, so I have to use one of these three sort tiles that show up over to the right. If you do not have these three sort tiles, that's because your contract is not a dredging contract. Don't worry, that means you don't have to do any extra work. For those of you that do have dredging contracts, you know that you'll need to come over here. So let's go to dredge reports. We're going to add a dredge report. And for this one, let's back this up to 2021 in February, and we're going to pick the 16th. All right, and this one is my hopper. All right, so in this particular case, we can go to the weather, and we can see that there is no information that has been added here. Now we're going to click on this, and we're going to choose weather draft, and okay. Now you'll see the weather information updated. So let's take a look. Now, all of the information that I had on the weather report is now showing up here. All right. So here we have updates with Submittals. This is an edit to the submittal grid edit view. And as some of you will be familiar with this view, this is where you could quickly make edits to multiple submittal items by clicking on this grid edit view to see all of the submittal items. But there were only some things that you could edit from this grid edit view. And the grid edit view is great, but can't edit everything in the submittal item edit view. So here's the submittal item edit view. So before, the grid edit view would only allow you to modify some of these things, like the days to review and maybe a few other things. I don't remember exactly what it is, but here. Now, that grid edit view will show everything. So everything that you can see in this submittal item edit view, you can now see in this grid edit view. So let me go show you how to use this and what it looks like. This is available both to contractors and to the government. So let's see here. Going first into contractor mode. And I'm going to go back to the main view of the contract, the main menu. And then I'm going to click on Submittals and Submittal Register. Now, make sure I'm in the right view. Yes, I am. Now, normally for submittal editing, what you would have to do is you'd have to double click on the submittal item, enter the information, click the back button, double click on another submittal item, enter the information, and wow, that can be very tedious. So that's why we have added our lovely little grid edit button. We click on this. And like I said, in the past, not all of the fields were available in this view. So though it was easier It was not as effective as probably most of you wanted. So this should make things much better because both contractor and government can now come in here to this grid edit view, and every single field using the scroll bar will be allowed to be edited for every single submittal item. So you can come in here and you can change this one's a GA, this one's an FIO. You can set the submittal type for this one by double clicking on it and clicking on this ellipses button for lookup field. This is going to be shop drawings. And the prime contractor will be able to set the prime contractor reviewer by doing somebody's name. They, however, cannot set the days to review because, of course, that's your purview. You do that, not the contractor. You'll notice that for this particular contract, the start date is not editable, and that's because for this contract has been set up to set the activity, the start dates for submittal items based off of the start date of the activity itself. So once a start date has been added to an activity and an activity has been selected, it will show up. So this one had an activity once upon a time. If it has a start date, that start date will show up in here. And in this particular case, it does not show up. So let's go take a look at this in government mode really fast. And this is our new release. Yep. So I'm going to go back to the contract main menu, submittals, submittal register, and click on grid edit. And again, in here, we have all of the things that we can edit, plus we can now edit the primary reviewer as well. So the contractor stopped at the primary contract reviewer, but you all have this extra field so you can set up your reviewer yourself. Okay. All right, so in this update, this is again in the submittal register, but this one was a minor blip that happened after making changes in the submittal edit view and then backing out to the submittal register view. So basically, if you go in there and you double clicked on a submittal edit, got to the edit screen, you made some changes, you click the back button, and then you moved your mouse down here to highlight, not selected, don't click on it, just move your mouse down here. It's going to automatically select the well, not select, it's going to highlight the item that your mouse is over. Now, this is true for any list inside of RMS. They're all going to have highlights if you put your mouse over them. Not clicking on it, just hover. But when they edited the register, backed out of that view and came here and moved their mouse down, there was a quick little flicker. It moved. So if you tried double clicking on the one that you moved your mouse to, right when that flicker happened, you actually opened up the wrong one, which is not what you wanted to do. So we fixed that. That no longer happens in this upcoming patch. Most of you probably didn't even notice that one, but it was there. All right. Next up is the schedules areas of RMS. And this one specifically is progress. So this issue happens when the contract status monthly progress tab, a user goes in and then clicks on the copy placement button to copy the placement information to progress, which we would like to do. It's a good thing to have. Unfortunately, RMS was inadvertently putting final placement values in the current monthly progress values, both in the monthly status progress tab as well as the contract status sheet itself. So that's definitely not what we wanted. Therefore, we have corrected that. Now y'all can go in and click that copy placement button and not have to worry about it giving you weird numbers. Now, again, remember, you can always edit these numbers too, so if something does come in weird and not the way you want it, just come in here and edit it. You're good. It'll go back the way it was. But at least now, it's not going to do something you don't want it to. Now, moving on to all the updates, changes to action items, dashboards, and reports. So this first one is the QC requirement needs QA review. So before, government was getting a notification that their QC requirements needed to be reviewed before the test results for a QC test actually came in. So normally a contractor would mark a test as completed. The default first step is completed awaiting results because it's done, but they don't have the results yet. And y'all would get pinged for this. And you're scratching your head when you get in there and be like, but it's not ready yet. Why am I getting pinged for this? So we fixed that, and you no longer have to worry about that. So see, here, completed awaiting results are going to be the only ones that you will get pinged on for this particular action item. The next issue was with the issues remarks out of date action item when this is turned on. So it wouldn't let you know if the date was out of date when there were no comments added to the phase status. So no comments in any of these text boxes here. If this date was out, if there were no comments, it wouldn't let you know anything, which is not really what you want, because sometimes you don't need comments, but you do need to update it. So now we have fixed that, and you will only get pinged for the ones, you will get pinged for the ones that don't have any comments, but are out of date. In this action item, when a contractor first creates a draft RFI, users were getting notified that they needed to review that RFI, but it wasn't ready. So we fixed that. So now you only get notified that it's ready for review when it's been sent to the government for review. Another action item. This one affects the contractors though. Contractors were getting notices of expired insurance when the affected contractor was no longer on site. Yeah, we don't really care if the insurance is expired if the contractor is no longer working. So now we have corrected that, so that way if the contractor has expired insurance, if the last day on site is either not entered or set for a future date, they'll get notified. However, if the last day on site is before the expired insurance, they won't get notified for this one. So that's a good thing. All right, another action item was users getting a list for all exposure hours that were both in draft and review. So government was being pinged, hey, you have exposure hours that you need to go review. But no, they were in draft mode. So we fixed this. Now it's only going to say, hey, you have to review, and we promise this time it's only in review. All right, last up is this one is for the KTRs that we're using equipment safety inspection check due action item. So when their equipment is entered into the equipment checks module and they still have time remaining for authorized hours, their action item dashboard was telling them that their inspection checks were due, even though they still had some hours left. So they will no longer get pinged unless the hours remaining equals 0. So that's also a very good thing. All right, here's some helpful links for you for things that we have talked about and for more information about some of the areas that we filled out. And now we're going to open it. Wait, before I forget. Also with this, you can find this, these slides are on our website, so you can go ahead and go to rms.usace.army.mil to download a copy of these slides, and then you'll be able to click on all of these links to view the videos. You'll also be able to click on our YouTube channel if you need to open up a service desk. Always feel free to give us a call if the service desk is having issues because it doesn't like Edge at all, and the KM portal for some information there. All right. Let's go ahead and open it up for questions. Do we have any questions that anybody would like to ask? All right, I'll give you guys a couple minutes to unmic yourself, and if we don't hear anything in about 3 or 4 minutes, we'll go ahead and wrap it up.
I did have a question. I don't know if it was addressed or not, but I noticed on one of the screens, you were saying that only 100 documents could be sent.
Yes.
And I noticed that one of them had like 256 documents. If you were to send that, what would happen? Like,
okay.
Is it going to take 100 and then go back and get the other 100, or?
Yeah. So if you're sending, if you do click on the one that was 256, what will happen is it will take 3 days to send those documents, because the first day it would take the first 100. The second day it would take the next 100, and then the last day it would take that 56. That's assuming, of course, there aren't any documents that are already in the queue that were put in the queue first.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Are there any other questions?
Yes. for the deficiencies,
Yes.
are you, and maybe I just missed it, are you able to note the date of the inspection when it was confirmed the deficiency was corrected or not corrected? I thought I heard you, the date of the report is input, at least when it was actually uploaded, but could you confirm that?
Yeah, so basically the date corrected is pulled from the daily report that it's marked in. However, if you're saying that the daily report that you mark it in is not the actual date that it was corrected, let me go back to and show you, but I think what you can do is you can add it in the corrective action area as well. So let's see here. Is this? Yes,
I
that's
think you might have answered my question. Because there's a date when the deficiency QA/QC is uploaded, and then there's a date on a report when you note that it has been corrected. I think that's the answer to it.
Okay, yeah, so the date that it was issued, so if you can look at my screen right now I went overhead and went into the deficiencies and I clicked on verified. And all the way to the left of that list, you'll see the date that the deficiency was issued, and then the date that was marked as corrected or concurred by the government. Now, if the contractor marks it as corrected, then the date that shows up in here is going to be the contractor's date that they mark it as corrected. And then when you concur, it's not going to change the date.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Okay. But, okay. All right, thank you.
You're very welcome. Are there any other questions?
The send documents to PCF module.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got an issue with open CTs. So we have construction management services by Polish QAs, but they're not they don't have rights to accept the CTs in RMS. So we have hundreds of CTs that are not accepted yet. Before these CTs can get uploaded into the cloud, do they need to be signed by, a government personnel, or is there something that we can do to accept these CTs?
So whether or not they need to be signed is dependent upon your district. I'm not 100% sure if you'll need to sign it or not. Some may want that, some may not. But what you'll be able to do
Okay.
at this point, let me type this so I can see my stuff. Let's run over. For you to be able to do that, you can just go into the contract itself and go to contract file. And then the CTs, if there are any, will show up in here. And like I said, just use this lovely little funnel and look for everything that is not ready. I believe it's document not ready. And then you can also expand this one. It's going to show the list of all of the ones that are whatever status they're in, including any CTs that you might have inside of here. I don't think I have any CTs in this test. So you should be able to do that here using the send all documents to PCF. But remember, you must be a full district admin in order to push this button. If you are not, you'll need to contact your district admin and ask them to do this for you and explain why.
Right. And so, yeah, our connection here is very poor, but and the 100-a-day limit is we're going to really have to use that queue extensively, because we're trying to close out a project that involves thousands of submittals and thousands of CTs, and actually the host nation, Polish host nation, they want all our CTs, and they want many principal submittals. So it's not just a matter of closing out with as-built records and O&M manuals and the typical. They want access. They want a significant portion of our RMS documents. So this is this is going to change that. It's going to really help us a lot. And so we appreciate this update.
You're very welcome. We do try to make our test as best as we can. So any suggestions that you guys have, please get with your what are they called now? RSG member, and put some ideas out there, because we want to make it better.
So except for the send documents to PCF module, everything else that you presented will be our rights granted to just the regular user, regular government user? Okay,
It
great.
would be for whoever has read-write access to the areas that I was talking about. So if it was the QC daily reports, they would need read-write areas, read-write permissions to QC dailies. If it was the submittals, they would need read-write there, and also with the export, they would need read-write there as well.
Okay, great.
Mhm.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
If you do need to export a large part of documents and you're having troubles, you can put in a help desk ticket and we can do that for you and provide the files by alternate means.
Yeah, that's probably the way we're going to go on this. And when it comes time to that, yeah, we will probably ask RMS to support because it's gigabytes of data, and anywhere we work from is not a very good internet link. So thanks for that offer, and we will take that approach when it comes down to it. But you first have to have everything in the PCF in order to provide that to us.
Not necessarily. If it's not in PCF and you need all of those documents, we can get those to you. Now, that means that you would still need to get them up into PCF, which I do believe you can manually upload things into PCF as well. But if you just need a copy of them, we can definitely get that for you.
Okay, thanks very much.
All right. Any other questions?
Yes, I have one about the PCF
Mhm.
upload. If we have a gazillion documents, so like I'm in Omaha district, we're a large district, we've got a lot of contracts going that generate a lot of documentation. If we have a bazillion documents queued up, is there a point at which, if we're only going 100 at a time, let's say we had 5,000 documents, if we're only going 100 at a time, is there a point at which those documents time out and won't go anymore? I have to repush them?
I know it will just add to the queue and eventually it will get sent.
Okay, thank you.
That's a very good question though, yeah. That is one of those things, it doesn't matter how many documents you add to the queue, it will go through eventually. It will, if you say you have like 5,000, it could take a couple months before they go through. So any new documents will be pushed back a couple of months before they go through. So it will go through. But at that point, you might want to do some of them manually so that way it's not, you guys don't have to wait so long. But it depends on how fast you need them. If you need them like today and you've got 5,000, then you're probably going to want to do that manually.
On something like a daily report where you might have the daily report itself, that PDF plus a bunch of attachments, if you have the daily report plus, let's say 5 attachments, is that 6 documents?
Correct.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions?
Can you hear me? I'm sorry.
Yes, I can hear you now.
Hey, so how is there a way to tell how big your district's queue is? How many things you have waiting to get sent to PCF?
The only way to do that would be through a query. And if you need help with that, you can always contact us and we'll be more than happy to give you that information.
Okay, so I'd run a query on ready to send to PCF, or well, I guess I'd run with the status that it was sent but not accepted. I think I know what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. And if you need more information, just go ahead and submit a support ticket or give us a call at 442-333-1011 and we can help you with that as well.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Mm-hmm. All right, it looks like we have answered all of the questions in the queue and I don't hear anybody else talking. So, thank you guys so very much for joining us today. We are very excited for this new release. And like I said, it should be coming out on the 27th or thereabouts. So look forward then. And I hope you guys have a great day. Again, thank you for joining.